In his days Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, went up, and Joachim became his slave for 3 years. And he turned and rebelled against him. And he sent against him the lightly armed men of the Chaldeans, and the lightly armed men of Syria, and the lightly armed men of Moab, and the lightly armed men of the sons of Ammon. And he sent them out against the land of Judah to prevail, according to the word of the Lord that he spoke by the hand of his slaves the prophets. Only it was because of the Lord's wrath against Judah, to remove him from his sight, because of the sins of Manasseh, according to all that he had committed. And indeed he shed innocent blood, and filled Jerusalem with innocent blood, and the Lord did not want to be conciliated. And the rest of the histories of Joachim, and all that he did, behold, are these things not written in a book of histories of the days for the kings of Judah? And Joachim slept with his fathers, and Joachim his son reigned in his stead. And the king of Egypt did not continue further to come out of his land, for the king of Babylon had taken all that belonged to the king of Egypt, from the Wadi of Egypt to the river Euphrates. Joachim was a son of 18 years when he became king, and he reigned 3 months in Jerusalem, and his mother's name was Nestha, daughter of Elnathan, from Jerusalem. And he did what was evil in the sight of the Lord, according to all that his father had done. At that time Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, went up to Jerusalem, and the city came under enclosure. And Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, entered into the city, and his servants were besieging it. And Joachim, king of Judah, came out against the king of Babylon, he and his servants, and his mother, and his commanders, and his eunuchs. And the king of Babylon took him in the 8th year of his reign. And he carried out from there all the treasures of the Lord's house, and the treasures of the king's house. And he cut up all the golden vessels that Solomon king of Israel had made in the shrine of the Lord, according to the word of the Lord. And he exiled Jerusalem and all the commanders, and those mighty in power, taking captive 10,000 captives, and every craftsman and he that encloses, and no one remained, except the poor of the land. And he exiled Joachim to Babylon, and the mother of the king, and the wives of the king and his eunuchs. And the strong men of the land he led away as a colony from Jerusalem to Babylon. And all the men of power 7,000, and the craftsmen and he that encloses 1,000. As for all mighty ones fit for war, the king of Babylon also led them away as a migration to Babylon. And the king of Babylon made Mattanias, his son, king in his stead, and changed his name to Zedekias. Zedekias was a son of 21 years when he became king, and he reigned 11 years in Jerusalem. And his mother's name was Hamutal, daughter of Jeremias. And he did what was evil in the sight of the Lord, according to all that Joachim had done, for it was on account of the anger of the Lord against Jerusalem and in Judah, until he drove them away from his presence. And Zedekias rebelled against the king of Babylon. And it happened in the 9th year of his reign, in the 10th month, that Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, and all his force came against Jerusalem and encamped against it, and built a surrounding wall against it all around. And the city came under enclosure until the 11th year of King Zedekias. On the 9th of the month the famine also grew strong in the city, and there was no food for the people of the land. And the city was breached, and all the men of war went out by night by way of the gate between the walls. This is the one of the garden of the king, and the Chaldeans were at the city all around. And he went by way of the Arabah. And the force of the Chaldeans pursued after the king, and they overtook him in Araboth Jericho, and all his force was scattered from about him. And they captured the king, and brought him to the king of Babylon in Diblatha. And he spoke judgment with him, and he slaughtered the sons of Zedekias before his eyes, and made blind the eyes of Zedekias, and bound him in fetters, and led him to Babylon. And in the 5th month, on the 7th of the month, that is the 19th year of Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, Nebuzaradan, the chief cook, since he stood before the king of Babylon, came to Jerusalem. And he burned the house of the Lord, and the house of the king, and all the houses of Jerusalem, and every house the chief cook burned. And Nebuzaradan, the chief cook, removed the residue of the people who were left in the city, and the fallen men who had fallen in with the king of Babylon, and the rest of the support. But the chief cook left some of the poor of the land to be vine-dressers and gabeen. And the bronze pillars that were in the Lord's house, and the Mechanoth and the bronze sea that was in the Lord's house, the Chaldeans smashed and carried their bronze to Babylon. And the cauldrons and the yamin and the saucers and the censers and all the bronze utensils, with which they would minister with them, he took. And the chief cook took the firepans and the gold and silver saucers, 2 pillars, the one sea and the Mechanoth, which Solomon had made for the Lord's house. There was no weight of the bronze of all the utensils. The height of the one pillar was 18 cubits, and on it was the bronze kothar, and the height of the kothar was 3 cubits. Sabacha and pomegranates, all of bronze, were on the kothar all around, and the second pillar had the same on the sabacha. And the chief cook took Zarias the first priest, and Sophonius son of the second order, and the 3 who guard the threshold. And from the city he took 1 eunuch who had been overseer over the warrior men, and 5 men of those who see the face of the king who were found in the city, and the secretary of the commander of the force, who draws out in battle order the people of the land, and 60 men of the people of the land who were found in the city. And Nebuzaradan, the chief cook, took them and led them away to the king of Babylon in Diblatha. And the king of Babylon struck them and put them to death in Diblatha in the land of Hamath. And Judah was exiled from upon its own land. And as for the people who were left behind in the land of Judah, whom Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, had left behind, he also appointed over them Godaliah son of Achikam, son of Shaphan. And all the commanders of the force, they and their men, heard that the king of Babylon had appointed Godaliah, and they came to Godaliah in Massiphath, they and their men, both Ishmael son of Nathanias, and Johanan son of Kari, and Sariah son of Tanemath, the Netophathite, and Jezanias son of Makathi. And Godaliah swore to them and to their men, and said to them, Fear not a passing of the Chaldeans, stay in the land, and be subject to the king of Babylon, and it shall be well with you. And it happened in the 7th month, that Ishmael son of Nathanias, son of Elisama, of the offspring of the kings came, and 10 men with him, and he struck Godaliah, and he died, and the Judeans and the Chaldeans who were with him, in Massiphath, and all the people from small even to great, and the commanders of the forces set out and entered into Egypt, for they were afraid from before the Chaldeans. And it happened in the 37th year of the exile of Joachim, king of Judah, in the 12th month, on the 27th of the month, that Yul-Marodak, king of Babylon, in the year of his reign, lifted up the head of Joachim, king of Judah, and brought him out from his prison house, and he spoke with him good things, and put his throne above the thrones of the kings who were with him in Babylon. And he changed his prison clothes, and would eat food continually before him all the days of his life. And his allowance, an allowance continually, was given to him from the king's house by reckoning of a day in its day, all the days of his life. And all Israel their registration, and these are written in the book of the kings of Israel and of Judah, with those taken into exile to Babylon by their lawless acts, and those who first lived in their possessions in the cities, Israel, the priests, the Levites, and those assigned. And Aliphiles fought against Israel, and they fled from before Aliphiles, and casualties fell on Mount Gelbui. And Aliphiles pursued after Saul and after his sons, and Aliphiles struck Jonathan and Aminadab and Melchisu, Saul's sons, and the war was heavy on Saul. And the archers found him with their arrows and pains, and he was hurt by the arrows. And Saul said to the one bearing his arms, Draw your sword and stab me with it, so that these uncircumcised do not come and make sport of me. But the one carrying his arms was not willing, because he was very afraid. And Saul took his sword and fell on it. And the one carrying his arms saw that Saul was dead, and he too fell on his sword and died. And Saul and his 3 sons died that day, and all his house died together. And every man of Israel who was in the valley saw that Israel had fled, and that Saul and his sons had died, and they abandoned their cities and fled, and Aliphiles came and lived in them. And it happened on the next day, and Aliphiles came to plunder the casualties, and they found Saul and his sons fallen on Mount Gelbui. And they stripped him and took his head and his equipment, and sent them to the surrounding land of Aliphiles, to announce the good news to their idols and the people. And they put his equipment in the house of their god, and they put his head in the house of Dagon. And all those living in Gilad heard what Aliphiles had done to Saul and Israel. And every mighty man arose from Gilad, and took Saul's body and the bodies of his sons, and carried them to Jabes. And they buried their bones under the oak of Jabes, and they fasted 7 days. And Saul died in his acts of lawlessness, which he had done lawlessly against the Lord, according to the Lord's word, since he had not kept it, because Saul had made inquiries at the ventriloquist to find out. And the prophet Samuel had answered him, and he did not seek the Lord, and he killed him and transferred the kingdom to David, son of Jesse. And all Israel came to David in Hebron, saying, See, we are your bones and your flesh. And yesterday and the 3rd day, when Saul was king, you were the one to lead Israel out and in. And the Lord your God said to you, You will shepherd my people Israel, and you will be a leader over Israel. And all elders of Israel came to the king in Hebron, and King David made a covenant with them at Hebron before the Lord. And they appointed David as king over Israel, according to the Lord's word through the hand of Samuel. And the king went, and men of Israel, to Jerusalem, that is Jebus, and there were the Jebusites who inhabited the land. Now the inhabitants of Jebus said to David, You will not come in here. And David anticipated them by seizing the enclosing of Zion, that is the city of David. And David said, Anyone who first strikes a Jebusite will be a commander and a general. And Joab son of Zeruiah went up first and was made a commander. And David established himself in the enclosing. Therefore he called it the city of David. And he built the city all around, and he waged war and took the city. And David kept going as he went, and became great, and the Lord Almighty was with him. And these are the ones who came to David in Soklag, while he was still constrained from before Saul son of Kish. And these were among the mighty men helping him in war and with bow, on the right and on the left. And from Gadi there split off to join David from the wilderness, strong mighty men in the line of battle, bearing shields and spears, and their faces were a lion's face, and they were swift as gazelles on the mountains in speed. And some of the sons of Benjamin and Judah came to David's assistance. And David went out to meet them and said to them, If you have come to me in peace, may my heart be like itself for you. But if in order to betray me to my enemies, not in truth of hand, may the God of our fathers see and decide. And a spirit invested Amasai, commander of the 30, and he said, Go forward in your people, David son of Jesse. Peace, peace to you, and peace to those who help you, because your God has helped you. And David received them and appointed them officers of the forces. And David consulted with the officers of thousands and officers of hundreds, with every commander. And David said to the whole assembly of Israel, If it seems good to you, and it finds favor with the Lord our God, let us send word to those of our brothers, who are left all over the land of Israel. And with them are the priests, the Levites, in the cities of their possession. And they will come together to us. And let us transfer the ark of our God to us, since they have not sought it since the days of Saul. And all the assembly stated that this should be done, since the plan seemed right in the view of all the people. And David assembled all Israel from the borders of Egypt, and as far as the entrance of Hamath, to bring the ark of God from the city of Jarim. And David brought it up, and all Israel went up to David's city, which was in Judah, to bring up from there the ark of God the Lord, sitting on the cherubim, of him by whose name it is called. And they set the ark of God on a new cart from the house of Amminadab, and Uzzah and his brothers directed the cart. And David and all Israel were playing before God with all their might, and with harp singers, and with keniras, and with nablas, with drums, and with cymbals, and with trumpets. And they came to the threshing floor, and Uzzah stretched out his hand to hold the ark, because the ox was tilting it. And the Lord raged with anger against Uzzah, and struck him down on the spot, for stretching out his hand to the ark, and he died there before God. And David was vexed that the Lord had struck a striking out at Uzzah, and called that place Uzzah's striking out to this day. And David was afraid of God that day, saying, How shall I bring the ark of God closer to me? And David did not transfer the ark closer to him to David's city, but diverted it to the house of Abidara the Gethite. And the ark of God sat in Abidara's house for 3 months. And God blessed Abidaram and all that he had.